So, but overall, you're having a good day so far?
Yeah, I'm having a good day. How about you?
Great. I'm great. I'm glad that we're halfway through the week already. So
Right?
there's that. So, all right. So I'm Phil. You know me as Phil Coop Productions. This is the Conversation Podcast. I have a special guest with me. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Who's Hannah Gronbeck I'm speaking to this afternoon?
Hi, I'm Hannah. I'm an artist over here at White Bat Tattoo in Pensacola, Florida. Um, just moved to Pensacola in February, but I've been tattooing for about 11 years.
That's nice. Now, before we get into it, I want to start with a little icebreaker. What was like one of the most craziest tattoos you've done?
How graphic can I get on this show?
All right, go ahead. It's no filters.
um, I was about like 4 years in at this point, and I was working at a beach shop in like a spring break town, in Panama City, Florida, and
Yeah.
these guys came in and they had a bet, and I guess the guy lost the bet, and he had to get a cartoon phallic, symbol right next to his butthole. Yeah.
Oh my
So I had to
gosh.
like, spread the cheek and like get in there and shit. I didn't shave it though. I had him shave his own butt. I ain't doing that.
Man,
Paid for
okay.
it.
That's great. That's crazy.
Yeah, that was definitely up there with some of the craziest tattoos.
Okay, okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get into it. Origins and influences. So the way I've done this is there's 20 questions, 5 questions each. But
Okay.
the way this is always probably gonna go smoothly. But let's go ahead and get into the section one. Looking back, what exact moment made you realize tattooing was not just something you do, but who you are?
Honestly, it came pretty quick after my apprenticeship. So I was in my apprenticeship for about 2.5 years. I was also pregnant with my first daughter, or my daughter, whenever I was in my apprenticeship. Um, and whenever I started to actually be able to take in like walk-in tattoos and like just see what came through the door and stuff like that every day, and the way that I really just became at peace. Like whenever I was able to tackle those challenges and make these people happy, and people are just really, really, really grateful when you give them a good tattoo and give them a good experience, and it's a really good feeling. And I want to do
I
it for
guess I guess once you start picking up the paint, the thing you use to tattoo people,
Mhm.
you just realize this is what I wanted to do.
Yeah,
Once you
pretty
pick it up,
much.
once you pick it up, you start running with it.
Hmm.
So it's really nice. Number two, was there an experience or a person that altered your entire perception of what tattoos could mean?
Um, Honestly, it was a mix of everybody I worked with. I'll be 100%. There wasn't really anybody in particular that like really altered my view. It was more of just like a mix of all the characters that I met like throughout my tattoo career and all these artists that I got the chance to work with, and it really just helped shape my perspective of what tattooing actually means versus, like the pop culture kind of view of what it's supposed to be.
And I think what's very interesting that the more that I've talked to you tattooers, you guys are starting to understand that there's more to life than just tattooing people. Like there's actually context in what you're
Oh
trying
yeah.
to tell.
Yeah, no, 100%. Every tattoo has a lot of history to it. I mean, even just tattooing in general has an extensive spiritual history. So, you know.
Yeah. And the more you do it, the more people understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Um, when you first picked up a tattoo machine, what dream or fear drove you forward, and how has that changed?
Well, it definitely changes a lot from the first time you pick up a machine. Because first time I picked one up, I was scared shitless. I'll be 100%. So you're not really comfortable. You're not really able to engage. You're scared. Like you can't fuck this up. This is somebody's like skin. This is what they live in. Like you don't want to hurt them. And when you get a little bit further in, like for instance, I said, I'm about 11 years in at this point. It gets a little bit more easy to relax and just engage with the practice that you're doing and with the client and making sure that experience portrays well for them.
True. And listen. Every time when I start something new, I do get scared. I think that happens with most people when they try something new. But here's
Yeah,
the thing: every time when I guess, but here's the thing: I still go and do it, like despite all fear. Listen,
yeah,
despite all the fear, it makes you a better person. I'd be like, you can't win or lose unless you do it.
exactly. I mean, what am I gonna do? Tell the person I can't tattoo him that day? They just gave me money and shit. They got an expectation.
It exactly. So I'd say to people who are listening in, just go for it. If you feel scared, just take a deep breath and start moving.
Exactly. It gets
So.
easier.
Mhm. Who are the voices or artists that have haunted your work and vision, and why do they matter to you?
Honestly, a lot of the old heads, like Sonny St. Clair, Cap Coleman, and Owen Jensen. A lot of the Paul Rogers, Danny Dottie, the old traditional tattooers from back in the day, especially like the female ones like Dainty Dottie. She was like a circus performer, she had to kind of work her way in, even like Shanghai Kate, she had to work her way into the industry with Sailor Jerry back in the day when women weren't, allowed to tattoo or weren't really accepted in tattoo shops or anything like that. And those women really had to get over some really crazy, you know, hurdles in order to make that. So
Yeah, I understand. Like you have like different legends from back in the day. Because I think one thing, and I think think you saw that I talked to Paris Joelle. She's a local tattoo artist in my area, talking
hmm
about how mostly tattooing was mostly men doing it, but now you got more
yeah.
females getting into mix because being a woman in the industry is difficult. I
Yeah.
can understand that part.
Mhm.
So, but here's the
Yeah.
thing: I don't care if it's man or female, as long as y'all enjoy the art and doing the work. I'm fine with
Exactly.
it.
Yeah,
You
there
know,
should be no barrier to tattooing, whether it's race, gender, fucking, how you feel, whatever. Yeah, if you belong in this industry, you belong here. There is no barrier.
exactly. Again, no limits, no strings attached.
Exactly.
So now that we're done with the introductions, wait, oh wait, I skipped one. My bad. Excuse me, I skipped one.
You're good.
Um, I'm going too fast. How does your personal history show up in your tattoos, even in ways your clients might not see?
Well, now that I'm a little bit more, like into my career, about 11 years in, like I said, I've been able to shape my style a little bit more, as far as my flash and like what I draw to tattoo goes. So I feel like everybody that gets a piece of like my flash or my custom art or something like that is able to kind of translate, my history and my past and everything like that, just how it plays into my art.
Okay, okay. So basically, you want to make sure that you're telling your own personal experience in these tattoos. Guess what? Sometimes you might not hide it in a tattoo and a surprise that most clients might not see it. Like
hmm
a magician never tells her tricks.
Exactly. Yeah. You got a certain style. I feel like every like artistic person has their own kind of flair to what they draw that makes it kind of unique, and recognizable to them.
And that was something that I told an anime artist last night, Ozzy the Virus. He was saying stuff like I was telling him, like, you never keep all that good stuff locked up in a computer document or file anywhere. All the
Yeah,
good stuff stays up here.
exactly.
So, all right. Okay. Now we can move on to section two, artistic process. These are 5 deep dive questions. I came with receipts today.
Oh, boy.
So I hope you're ready.
Okay.
When a client comes to you without words, how do you listen to the unspoken story and translate it into ink?
What do you mean by without words? Do you mean like by just showing me pictures or like?
Pretty much like they show you pictures, they
Mhm.
remain silent, kind of say, I just want a tattoo, but I'll show you what I want, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like a chance, like you're preparing for a test without knowing all the answers.
Yeah, for sure. No, like you don't honestly have to explain it to me in a bunch of words. It's better if it's like a couple words here and there, or like just show me pictures of what you like. The more pictures, the better, because I always draw my own stuff. I'm not a fan of artists that directly steal stuff from Google and Pinterest and stuff like that and don't even try to replicate it and make it their own. But if you give me a bunch of references and a bunch of ideas as far as like what you like, placement of this, style of this, don't like this, I like this, kind of situation. It really helps me be able to rule out what my artistic preferences are that you won't like and what my artistic preferences are that you will like so that I can shape it to what you're looking for. It is kind of a tattoo artist job to be psychic a little bit, and kind of read between the lines and because sometimes people don't know what they want. Sometimes people come in with absolutely zero idea and they're trying to explain this to me because they have a picture in their head and they're like stressing out and shit. And it's like, dude, it's all right. Just like draw me a picture, give me a little sketch, whatever. I can take it from there. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, pretty much they're basically telling you, go crazy. Whatever you
Exactly.
can do. But yeah, I just want to test that because that's a question I never got a chance to ask a tattoo artist. So I
Really?
was like, maybe I can ask her this one.
Yeah, for sure.
So like, how did they manage to do it without knowing? Like I said, it's like preparing for a
Yes.
test.
Can you say that one
Next
more time?
question. I'm saying it's like preparing for a test. You never know.
Yeah, for sure.
So, um, do you ever feel that certain tattoos choose you as much as you choose them? Can you share an example?
Um, think about that for a second. I mean, I think that every tattoo kind of chooses the artist in itself, because that person has to look at portfolios. They got to look at, your prior tattoos and kind of figure out, if their style matches your style, if they like what you got going on, all that kind of stuff. As far as like a tattoo that kind of explains that, I mean, honestly, any of my flash, you can read, pretty evenly what my style is that like reminisced with them and stuff like that.
Okay. Because I know like you guys choose like a lot of tattoos for clients that might to try out, we'll see if this works. Sometimes y'all do
Hmm.
that, sometimes you don't, or maybe the tattoo has to choose you. That's why I
Hmm.
threw in that little line, like being like, maybe it'll come to me when the time is right.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. Now I like to think that that happens with most of the tattoos, honestly. There's very rarely that a tattoo comes in the door that finds me that like, I don't feel comfortable tackling.
yeah, I mean, it does get tricky, doesn't it, Hannah?
No, it does, that's for sure.
Oh. Um, what's a piece you created that challenged not only your skill but your soul, and what did it teach you?
um me think about that. Well, I like to do a lot of like traditional pieces and stuff like that. That's more of like my preferred style, more of like American traditional. But there have been a few times where like some black and gray realism has come in the door or, more of like a realistic take on something, and it definitely challenges me every time. I kind of got to revert back to like my apprenticeship days where like I was watching everybody and everybody was teaching me how to do things, and you got to kind of like be able to remember those little tips and tricks. And you know it definitely challenges your view of what's a normal day.
Yeah, definitely was viewing on that because I know, like like you said, like American traditions, all that stuff. Because I was wondering, and I wanted to ask you something. Has anyone else come in with like any other like traditions? Like, let's say they're like the like Japanese, Chinese, Black
Mhm.
culture. Has anyone come in and asked them to tattoo some of those traditions on them?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. No, I honestly enjoy learning about Japanese traditional. I've been asked to do a lot of like say like Polynesian, a lot of like that kind of like quote unquote tribal kind of stuff. And I do make a point to tell people to do their research whenever it comes to that, especially if you're not directly related to that culture. Because American traditional is a little bit more centralized, it's more like folk art. Japanese traditional and Polynesian style and all that kind of stuff, they have a lot of storytelling behind them and a lot of identity. And I feel like a lot of people don't look into what these stories are. Like every monster that's tattooed in a Japanese sleeve has a mythology behind it. Every basket weave in a Polynesian sleeve means a certain, thing to that person and to that history. And I feel like people don't really look into that a lot before they get those tattooed. So I definitely make a point to tell people that, especially if it's outside your culture and your norm, to make sure that you're paying homage to that history before you're engaging in it.
I like that you said all that because I was in a humanities class like last summer, and
Mm-hmm.
I in one of my examples because there's been like a lot of fashion shows and where I am. I'm not sure if you're familiar with SCAD because it's right in, like in Savannah and
Yeah,
you know
yeah, yeah. I'm
yeah
familiar with that.
yeah, they held like fashion shows. One time I've been one like there was one that told like their designs and the dresses like
Mm-hmm.
experience like the Chinese culture and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So when I paid attention more to that, I was like, okay, now I understand. Sometimes when they design all these dresses, they're actually telling a story
Mm-hmm.
of how they do things in their own
Exactly.
culture. So
Exactly.
I mean, the more like they explain, like the more context you pay attention, you'll start to understand. Okay, this is
Mm-hmm.
how they do things in their traditions. Same
Yeah.
thing with all other kinds of races who come and do all kinds of amazing art.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yep. It's very important to pay attention to the orientation of where, or the origin, not orientation, origin of where these things come from. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I was like, after that experience, I was like, maybe I need to keep paying attention to all this. I need
Mm-hmm.
to, like, so that way on, because who knows, maybe I might want to talk to them sometime later and just ask them some questions.
Yeah. Exactly. And sometimes you learn some really cool stuff. Those stories can be really interesting.
Yep. Let's see. How do you decide which personal truths to be embedded into a tattoo and which to leave unspoken?
It depends upon the tattoo, honestly, and what that person is getting it for. And honestly, how that person is as a person, because I mean, I'm not trying to be rude or anything, but some people come into the tattoo shop and you can tell they don't respect the art and they don't respect the tattoo and they don't really think about what they're doing. So it kind of, you know, leaves some secrets untold in that tattoo, because I can't really dive in deep enough with that person to connect and uncover that for them.
And sometimes some things are better left unsaid.
Mhm. Yeah.
So like they don't want to spill all their secrets on a tattoo now.
No, no,
If
exactly.
if it's like sensitive or personal information, then sure, I won't bring it in here.
Yeah,
Or tattoo or whatever kind of thing you're doing. I won't bring it up.
exactly.
So I did. Sometimes you just gotta respect their privacy, and it's understandable
Yeah.
because they might have like a tragic accident that happened to them, or
Oh,
something bad
exactly.
happening, and it's something they just don't want to. It's sensitive about.
Yeah, and no, it's never a tattoo artist's job to pry into why somebody is getting a tattoo. If you feel comfortable enough to disclose that to me while I'm tattooing you and while we're interacting and stuff like that, if we vibe on that level and you trust me enough, then I'll listen to everything you got to say and I won't tell a single person. But if you don't want to talk about it, dude, that is not my job to make
Mhm.
you divulge. You can be strong and silent and
Sure. That's what I like about you, Hannah. You're being considerate. You're being aware of how the person is acting. Because here's the
yeah,
thing: most tattoo artists I've talked to, they like to have these interactions and have trust between their clients.
yeah,
They want to understand, like what's going on in their mind. Basically, tattooing is like a kind of therapy. I think you treat it as
it definitely
therapy as
is.
well.
Yeah,
I
no,
don't know.
100%.
I don't know if you got. I don't know if you have any like heartfelt conversations with clients. I don't know if you have. They have
Oh
you.
yeah. No, I mean people get very vulnerable whenever they're in pain, and people talk whenever they're in pain, and my job as a tattoo artist is to make you feel comfortable and to make you feel safe enough while you're in this vulnerable position to talk to me if you wish to talk to me. Some people don't have anybody to talk to outside of their tattoo artist or their hairstylist or something like that. And those things I don't speak to anybody else. I don't even tell my friends, I don't tell my wife, I don't tell anybody, because that's not my business to divulge. And
Right.
I feel very blessed whenever people feel comfortable enough to open up to me because some of these stories that people get tattooed on them are very serious and very traumatic. So it's very important to leave space for those people.
Yeah. Yeah, and make sure they have a place to come and talk to you because pretty much you're kind of like a therapist when you're tattooing. There's one thing
Exactly.
that Paris Joelle told me last weekend, 3 days ago. She told me that when her grandmother passed away, she had to her cousin wanted to represent her, so they tattooed something on him to make
Hmm.
sure that it was something to represent their grandmother.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, I've done a lot of memorial tattoos. Sometimes a picture's worth a thousand words, and sometimes people want to get a lot of like dates or a lot of names or stuff like that, and sometimes it's better just to leave. that info to yourself, especially if you don't feel like talking about it all the time. 'Cause people are going to ask, about your tattoos and what that date meant and who is this person, and if you don't want to talk about it, sometimes it's best just to draw a fucking picture.
Well, Hannah, keep being there for them, okay? When they
I'll plan
need
on
you.
it.
So, um, when balancing your voice with the clients, how do you decide when to lead and when to follow their vision?
Um, Honestly, I will let you give me as much information as you want to give me, and then I will reflect with 100% honesty according to my experience and my personal opinion from what I've seen over my 11 years of tattooing, what I think would be a mistake and what I think will not work and what wouldn't be flattering to them, and stuff like that. And if they choose to listen to me, then hell yeah, awesome. If they don't, then I'll do my best to still be honest with them and tell them the outcome and, do it anyways most of the time, because you're paying me to do a service either way. I'm going to tell you how the outcome of that service is going to be. But if you want it, I'm going to do it.
I think the problem with today's society, like people are just not taking the time to just sit down and have like honest conversations. Like we can
Mhm.
agree to disagree on certain things, but
Yeah.
it's not hard to just listen and what the other person has to say. Like me,
Yeah.
I'm learning to listen instead of being prideful all the time. I'm learning to listen to other people. Sometimes as being a leader knows, or being a like, this always you always need to know when it's time to follow somebody,
Exactly.
and understand their take on the situation.
hmm
So,
I agree.
and I think that goes with everyone, including like tattoo artists. If a person say, "Hey, this is not going to work out. This is not going to come out the way you want it to be. Let's try something different." I'll be like,
hmm
"Okay, let's try that and test the walls and see what it looks like at the end."
Well, exactly. And, I'll show them examples, whether it's my examples of like a heel tattoo that I didn't like how it turned out in this instance, and this is how it's going to look, or, this is how I perceive this, and I think it's your job as a tattoo artist to try to curtail your client sometimes because people get crazy with some ideas and they just want, you know, all of the things. And sometimes you can't have all the things, and sometimes all the things won't look right, and I don't really respect artists that just take people's money and don't try to actually create something that's going to be flattering to them and make them happy in 10 years, not just today for an Instagram photo.
I mean, exactly. Like, listen, tattooing is art.
Yeah,
Anything pretty much is art. Like, like at least do it for the passion of it. Don't do it for like clicks,
exactly.
likes, follows, and just the money. I mean,
Exactly.
of course, you need money to do it, but at least have. There's no
Yeah.
saying. Here's all saying. You'll like this. Choose a job that you love, and you never have to work a single day in
Yep.
your life.
Exactly. Yep. I love my
So
job. It's a great fucking job.
there you go. But yeah, but yeah, like if I have a problem, let's say for example, my computer's malfunctioning or anything else is not working, I want to make sure we have a cordial conversation. Or if I want to get a tattoo from her, I want to have a cordial conversation. I'm gonna be like, hey Hannah, this isn't working. What can we do about this?
Mm-hmm.
So
Exactly.
yeah, that's the question you always want to ask. What can we do about this? And try to sit down and brainstorm.
Mm-hmm. That's
So
your job. That's literally what they're paying me for. So.
there you go. Um, Sorry if I talked a lot, Ma. I think it was a lot to unpack there. But
Yeah, you're good, dude.
just hey, like I said, I want to pick your brains.
You're fine.
So, all right, next one is another 5 deep dive questions. Client experience. What do you feel when a client entrusts you with their body and story?
I feel very honored personally. Obviously it's a big thing for somebody to be vulnerable with you and let them, not only touch them, on their personal person, for an extended period of time and cause them pain, but you're doing something permanent to this person that if you fuck up and you don't do it right, they're going to have to go through a lot of expensive treatments and a lot of cover ups and a lot of personal and mental struggle having to deal with that, you know? And, it's not a small thing, and I feel like some people or some artists don't really take it as seriously as they should, and it's so popularized and mainstream now that I feel like a lot of people don't really think of that as a honor or whatever that somebody chose you to do that for them. I think it's just kind of become more of just like a passive kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah, because I know like once you do something, it's basically like you know what to do and everything. So
Hmm.
like listen, don't do something and you don't know what you're doing.
Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
let someone else handle it. Like
Exactly. I do it all the time. Like if somebody comes in a walk in my shop that I work at, we're very good about cycling out between each other, being like, you know what, this guy would handle it a lot better than I would, or you know what, she does script a lot better than I do, so she can fucking tackle that. And I feel like there's too much like competition, not friendly competition, between artists and stuff.
other thing too is it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's something that I paid attention to. Like I think I saw this in a video game once or something, but it was actually a real life kind of situation. You
Hmm.
know, listen, it's okay if you still need help sometimes. It's just part of growing up.
Exactly. Yeah, I still ask for help, even, I've been doing it for a while and I still ask my coworkers their opinion on a drawing or does this shading look okay? Do you think I need more highlights here? Kind of situation. And if you don't understand something, ask. You look more stupid when you don't and you mess it up than you do asking a lot of questions trying to make it good.
And that's okay. So yeah, so don't forget, guys. It's okay to ask for help. Don't hesitate to raise your hand.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So it works. Um, 12. When a client is conflicted about a tattoo, how do you guide them towards clarity without losing authenticity?
Honestly, by being a professional, like there's ways that you can talk to people that are, both calming and putting your foot down at the same time and trying to guide them in a way that, it's like we talked about earlier, telling them no and stuff like that, just trying to put them in the lane that you feel like they would be happy with. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know like sometimes clients be like, I'm not so sure about this tattoo. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not so sure, but you just want to make sure you try to tell them that well, let me see what you have first,
Mm-hmm.
and let's see if I can approve that.
Exactly. Yeah. Talking is a big part of our job. You have to be good at, I mean, you got to be good at sales, honestly. It doesn't hurt to have a sales background prior to getting into tattooing because it teaches you how to talk to people and how to read the situation and, kind of.
Yeah, because you have to hold on. I'm trying to figure out how to trying to figure out how to word this. You have to coordinate and navigate through like the the craggy rivers. You want to make sure that okay, we're entering like this sort of phase. We're entering a kind of foggy area. How do we
Hmm.
navigate with the lights on? Because it's a lot of stuff to clear through, and
Exactly.
the more you guys one communication is key always. The
Exactly.
more you guys talk about these certain things, like how can we make this tattoo their perfection the way you want it, so it doesn't feel like it feels like a bad masterpiece or something. You
Yeah.
know, so yeah, if you see where I'm coming from.
Yeah, no, for sure. You definitely and it is get overwhelming sometimes, trying to sift through people's ideas and actually listen to what the root of what they're getting at is, but you get it eventually. You get, more familiar with it.
And I think the more the clients, feel, the more you guys talk to the clients,
Hmm.
understand
The
what
more you
they're
make them feel
feeling.
comfortable and, the more
Mhm.
they feel seen and stuff like that, the more they're going to open up to you and be able to communicate with you better.
Yeah, communication and trust is key.
Yep.
Got to build trust thing. Like, listen, I don't just walk up to the person without getting to know them first. I just
Hmm.
maybe just open up with a nice conversation first and tell them what you do and everything else.
Exactly.
Same thing with tattooing. Like let's say for example, you see me with a lot of pop culture shirts on right
Hmm.
now in posters. Like, let's say I want to get a tattoo of Batman on my arm.
Hmm.
I listen, if I can, I'll bring a lot of my pop figures so you can take a look or
Exactly. Yeah.
or or some games. Listen, I got so many Batmobiles in my room right now. So can you blame me if I'm a collector?
No, I respect that.
So, but yeah, stuff like that. You want to make sure you have references. You want to ask them what kind of stuff are you into? Is it rock music? Is it pop
Mhm.
culture? Is it mythology or any other kind of
Exactly.
stuff?
Yeah.
Those are like the top questions you need to ask.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see. Has a client's tattoo ever stayed with you emotionally after the needle was put away? And what was it and why?
There's been quite a few, honestly. I mean, I've been doing this for a hot minute, so I've got quite a few tattoos under my belt, and there's been quite a few times where, like, people will come in literally like the day or two after a loved one has passed away, whether it's like a child or a spouse or something like that, and they'll have either like a sample of their handwriting or like their fingerprint or their handprint or something like that. And honestly, those stick with me every time, especially when it's that soon after that tragedy has happened, because you can just feel the raw emotion just coming off of them still. And you get to connect with this person who has passed on in a personal way, replicating their handwriting or replicating their handprint or, whatever. And you're immortalizing them in some way, and it's a very deep and very emotional thing. I've gone home and cried over tattoos that I've done just because they've really affected me. And that's part of why I love this job, is the people that I get to help heal like that, and move on from these really awful things that have happened.
And listen, Hannah, it's okay to cry. Listen, in one of
Yeah.
my previous episodes, I was talking to her name was Gianna Russo. She's a SCAD filmmaker. Her
Hmm.
story actually touched my heart, and I actually cried at the end of the episode. And she
Hmm.
said, "Are you okay?" And, she said, "No need to apologize. You're fine."
Yeah. No, it's
So
definitely okay to cry. Yeah. Especially at the session. I ain't gonna judge you if you shed a tear or not. I ain't gonna tell nobody.
yeah, I was telling her I didn't want you to see me like this. So but she's saying it's okay. It's okay to have that vulnerability.
Hmm.
I think that goes to saying what if you're doing like art, illustration, animation, tattoo arting, voice acting, because I have talked to a few voice actors too.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's just sometimes those little moments that turn in like to big emotional stuff for us.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, it's normal to have those feelings.
Yeah, for sure.
So, 14, how do you help clients design something that won't just hold meaning today, but transform with them over time?
I mean, honestly, I just encourage people to put some thought into their tattoos. I mean, there's a difference between like going into a shop and getting something random just because you want a freaking tattoo. I respect that too. That's the majority of mine. But like, if you're looking for something to grow with you and stay with you, and you're taking it a certain level of seriousness, you got to put some thought into it, and you got to figure out what styles you're still going to like in 10 years, what subject you're still going to like in 10 years, and technically speaking, you gotta lay it with the right needle size so that it won't become blurry. You gotta lay it with the right colors and contrast and right shading and stuff. It just takes a lot of thought and planning. Yeah.
Yeah, and because I know, like, once they get this tattoo and feel like, oh, this feels it was something amazing, but
Mm-hmm.
then look back in the next like 5 to 10 years, they're gonna be
Mm-hmm.
like, I have this tattoo because this is what it means to me,
Oh,
all that kind of
exactly.
stuff.
Yeah, and I
You
feel like
know,
people get a lot of like tattoo trends and stuff that are popular without really thinking about what they're gonna want in 10 years from now. And it always kills me when somebody gets like a really small tattoo in a really big spot, like on like top of your bicep, or like really small one in the middle of your thigh. You never know in 10 years if you're gonna want like a big thigh piece, and then that's gonna be smack dab in the middle of it, and you might not want that anymore.
that and like if you get this tattoo, it's going to be with you for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, make sure you understand the context of why you're getting this tattoo. Like, this
Exactly.
is
Yep.
listen, like, make sure like it makes sense. Like, always make it make sense. This person meant that. What happened?
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
Well, yeah, before that happened, as I was saying, you want to make sure that, the context, make sure it makes sense. Like, make sure the tattoo makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like I'm trying to think right now, if I do get my first tattoo and I do get Batman on my arm or
Hmm.
something, do I have the context of why I get the Batman tattoo? Maybe it's because Batman is like tough or something, smart or what? I don't know what it is, but
I mean, if he resonates with you in some way and it's like a personal hero of yours, or, reminds you of your childhood, or reminds you of something that is warm and fuzzy to you, then you don't have to justify it to anybody else. That's enough to get it tattooed.
yeah. To be honest, it all started with me. Like I grew up with Batman the animated series when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So that's how the whole pop culture stuff. It all started
Right.
with Batman the animated series for me.
Oh,
Then
yeah.
it turned into something more amazing, Then it was then Kevin Conroy passed away 3 years ago. He
Hmm.
was the voice of Batman for years.
Oh, wow.
And thing is, he passed away when I was finished playing Arkham Knight. When I finished the
Hmm.
whole game, he passed away the next morning.
Oh, damn.
I was
That's
like,
crazy.
I just played one of his games last night. He passed away.
Right? That's always crazy when stuff like that happens.
I was upset with Commissioner Goring because he said this is how the Batman died.
Hmm.
Why'd you say that? And then I wake up and Kevin Conroy's dead.
Right? That's weird.
That must be a bad omen. It's got to be a bad omen. What do you think? It must be a bad omen. What do you think, Hannah? You think that was a bad omen?
I don't know, man. Sounds like it.
Yeah, that's crazy. Um, I'm going off topic. Sorry, I just kind of geeked out for a second.
You're fine, dude.
Number 15. When a tattoo is done, what invisible mark does it leave on you as an artist?
Honestly, whether I'm happy with it or not is what haunts me the most. Like, if I do like a little tiny mistake, whether like I fix it or not, that's gonna make me think about it for the next 10 years, dude. Like, there's still stuff that I messed up in my apprenticeship that I still like think about. I'm like, oh, it's like I fucking did that. Yeah.
Well, hey, you're gonna stumble and fall at every turn. Like it's
Oh yeah.
inevitable.
Yeah, no.
So
It's just a matter of like if I'm happy with how I executed the tattoo or not. Sometimes I'm freaking stoked about it and I think it's a good portfolio piece. I'm really happy with it. And sometimes the client can be freaking stoked with it, but there's like one little thing about it that I hate and I'm never gonna stop thinking about that.
well, hey, don't stop. You're doing great.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
All right, last section, and we've almost been talking for an hour, but it's actually been more like 42 minutes. But it's okay,
You're fine. Yeah, you're good.
because I know you got a lot of stuff to do today. I don't want to hold you up.
No, you're good, man.
Life reflections, and yes, this is the last 5 deep dive questions. So I think you've been liking my questions so far.
Yeah, you're good, dude.
So, do you see tattoos as permanent maps of transformation? How has your own body told your story?
Um, Honestly, with every single one of my tattoos that I've gotten, I haven't really like planned them much, but they've always kind of like revealed their meaning to me in a couple years, or like I get to see why I made that decision for that tattoo at that point in my life, and it makes sense, like 5 years, 10 years from then, kind of thing. And a lot of them I've done myself, so I get to look back at like my journey in tattooing, from my apprenticeship to now, because I've tattooed myself over time, and practiced different techniques and stuff like that. So it's always helpful to see that transition on myself.
Well, hey, sometimes sometimes in life, it's not just remembering about the good things; it's also remembering about the bad things as
Hmm.
well.
Exactly.
So that way, it can help you, don't figure out, hey, what's about to come next? How can I be
Hmm.
better than I was before?
Yeah, exactly.
Again, I didn't know you do those tattoos by yourself. Like seriously, how
Mhm.
do you do it? But do you just like, how does that work?
I mean, you just figure out the stretch and go from there. I think it hurts less personally because you're not paying attention to like the tattoo. You're paying attention to not fucking it up. Yeah. Yeah. I
Okay,
don't think your brain
I
can really
can
focus on it.
I can never get tattoo artists doing that by itself. Like they're usually used to doing it on each other.
Hmm. I would do that too. Yeah. But yeah, when I'm bored, I'll definitely give myself a tattoo. Yeah. I did the one on my face just because I was bored. Yeah.
Okay, okay, that's cool. That's cool. I actually like it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I
And-
kept hitting the mirror with my machine. Yeah.
oh man, Now, how can tattoos become acts of personal liberation, healing, or reclamation of self?
Well, honestly, I've had a lot of clients that come to me after they have a big transformation in their life. Tattoos are a good way to, I mean, not only mentally because of the adrenaline and the chemical, balances that happen during it that make you feel that dopamine and serotonin and that feeling of power that you overcame that pain and you got this tattoo, it translates into what they've just recently been through. Like a lot of my clients will, after they have a breakup or after they, leave a job that was toxic for them or like do a big move or something like that. A tattoo is a really good way to immortalize that feeling of personal achievement and power because it's there forever, it's with you your whole entire life. So, and even past it. So, it's always a good way to either celebrate or commemorate or, you know, feeling a personal success.
Oh, definitely. Hey, listen, I always treat myself when I feel like I've done something very amazing. So
Exactly.
sometimes I go out for ice cream on Fridays. Sometimes I'll
Yeah.
be on my, I'll be on this. So there's that too.
Exactly. Yep. Little
So,
self time.
so yeah. So it's just so yeah, it's nice that tattoos can still be like rewarding. Like, hey, I want to get this tattoo because
Mhm.
I succeeded in this.
Yeah, exactly.
But also like when I get, I want to make sure it means something as well.
Exactly. What feels better about spending like two, three, $400 on something that's going to be with you forever? It's going to make you feel powerful every time you look at it.
It exactly. Do you believe tattoos can alter identity or reveal a hidden one? How do you see that in your work?
Oh, for sure. I've seen like some of my longtime clients, especially like the more quiet and reserved ones that come to me for their first tattoo. They get something small, in a little hidden spot. And then I've been tattooing them for 7 years, and all of a sudden they're getting sleeves, they're getting like these dark tattoos, they're getting like color tattoos. They're not scared of showing them anymore, and I really feel like having that journey is really cool to see because the tattoos almost like take them out of their shell because tattoos are made to make you feel confident in your skin. You're literally decorating your body, to make yourself feel more comfortable. And when you get comfortable like that, it really changes your whole personality sometimes for the better.
And what's very interesting that you said that sometimes these people come up and they want to like, oh, it's just I want to give them a puzzle that they can't figure out.
Hmm.
Like, they do all kinds of things. And I know you guys, that's tattoo artists, y'all have tattoos that tell something, but it's hard for us to figure out. We have to figure out what
Hmm.
it means by ourselves.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's nice. It's nice that you get to throw in those kind of like, those little brain teasers or puzzles or any kind of like, those kind of icebreakers and be like, oh, what does this mean? I need to know. I can't tell you all the details. You got to figure it out
Hmm.
by yourself because this is a
Exactly.
very bizarre tattoo and something that, that I've never like, that I came up with. And you got to figure out what the answer is.
Exactly.
And so, and I know, oh, like, and I don't know if you have one that I don't know what it means. So
I
maybe
got a
I'll have
few.
to got a few. Maybe I have to figure that out on my own when next time I see you, be like, what does this mean? Without
Hmm.
telling me.
For sure.
I want to figure it out. So, oh, what part of yourself do your tattoos express that words never could?
Mm, I mean, pretty much in like a lot of ways, man. I mean, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So, like, all my tattoos say something that I couldn't necessarily put into a sentence, by themselves, whether it's, something that's happened to me, something I thought was cool, a song that I liked, a movie I liked, like a lot of different things. Yeah. It's kind of hard to just narrow it down.
Well, here's the thing. Sometimes I know some tattoo artists don't like to talk all the time. Sometimes they talk through their tattoos instead of using
Hmm.
words.
Yeah.
Like
It's just easier like that.
pretty much like same thing. Like actions speak louder words. Tattoos
Exactly.
speak louder than words.
They do.
So it's just like it just, but I think it's because because most tattoo artists won't open up. They have to explain how they do things with the tattoos and everything.
Well, I mean, honestly, man, even if you look at the history of tattoos, tattoos are a language in itself, especially if you look at like Russian, criminal tattoos and stuff like that. There's a whole dictionary of, what each tattoo means and what it symbolizes. And it's a way of these people, how they communicate with each other inside these different gangs and sects and stuff like that. And it's truly interesting when you look into it, how tattoos can be a form of communication to people,
Oh,
literally.
true. Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. Well, I was like, well, next time I see a tattoo artist, I better pay attention to their tattoos and let the words speak for
Hmm.
themselves.
For real, yeah,
So,
100%.
um, now when you look back at your career, what do you want people to feel long after your work has faded into their skin?
Um, Honestly, I want them to feel cool, man. Yeah, 100%. I want you to feel cool. I want you to feel confident. I want you to be in love with what I gave you, and what we worked on together. I want you to be able to remember me whenever you're 80 and you're like, oh yeah, this like chick Hannah, she tattooed me in Pensacola, like 80 years ago. And like that doesn't really happen to a lot of people. I've noticed like all these old heads that they have their old tattoos. They're like, oh yeah, it was like some guy, I forget his name, and some place I stopped off. Like you want to be memorable. You want somebody to have such a good time with you and connect and love your art so much that they put that place in their head for you.
And trust me, Hannah, when they get these tattoos, it's going to feel like they got something very extraordinary for a lifetime. And they want to
Exactly.
remember back that, hey, she did this for me. She's the one
Hmm.
who did this. Y'all need to
Exactly.
go see her. She is very sweet and she is a nice artist. And people
Exactly.
do. They still do that today.
Yep, they do. Yep, word of mouth is really underestimated. I feel like everybody's really relying on social media to push them forward, and I feel like people really forget just how valuable like mouth to mouth, face to face communication is for especially
Much better.
tattoos. Yeah.
Yeah. You can't trust everything you see on the internet now. I've
Nah,
learned
man.
that. So yeah,
No.
go like listen, if I got a question, go talk to her in person. It's not
Hmm.
gonna hurt.
Exactly. Come see me at the shop. Like I'm take a minute for my tattoo to talk to you. It doesn't matter if I'm busy or not. I don't give a damn.
There you go. There you go. Well, I think that's the end of it. I know it was a short time, but there were some good questions. I think you liked the questions, right? Were they good?
Yeah, man. Yeah, you did good.
Good. Good, because there was a lot of deep dives because I want to go deep inside your psyche
I
and
appreciate it,
try.
bro. Yeah.
So, but yeah, this is Hannah. Go check out her tattoos. Make sure y'all book appointments now. She does a lot of good work. I met her up in person at the festival, so go check her out.
Thank you.